I'm going to go in there, I'm going to hurt David Morrell as much as possible. More than anybody's ever heard him and more than anybody will hurt. He's never going to forget David Benavidez after this fight. Whoa!
David Benavidez and David Morrell are set for war this Saturday, February 1st at the T-Mobile Arena live on PBC PPV. The stakes couldn't be higher. The winner of this battle will become the mandatory challenger for the victor of RBBV versus Dmitry Bivol on February 22nd. This isn't just a fight. It's a career-defining moment, for both men. Scared Benavidez has been waiting for a shot at Canelo Alvarez for years. He chased the Mexican superstar, called him out, and practically begged for the fight. But Canelo always found another route. Now Benavidez is done waiting. He's moved up to light heavyweight, ready to carve his own path. And Morrell is the first major test. If he wins in dominant fashion, not only does he get a shot at the undisputed champion, but he also puts even more pressure on Canelo, forcing him to acknowledge his existence for Morrell. This is the moment he's been waiting for. He's young, undefeated, and confident. But the truth is he hasn't been tested. The way Benavidez has his toughest fight was against Ravo Kadek, a solid but unspectacular opponent. Morrell won by decision, but it wasn't a dominant performance. He outlanded Kadek by only 32 punches over the 36-minute fight. That's a problem. When you're about to face a relentless high-volume puncher like Benavidez, Morrell knows the challenge ahead, which is why he's trying to get inside Ben's head. At a recent media workout in Miami, Morrell mockingly called Benavidez RoboCop, taking shots at his movement and agility. Really, it was a clever jab. But Benavidez isn't new to this. He's dealt with slick and elusive fighters before, most notably Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade. Both were supposed to be too skilled for Benavidez, but he broke them down, battered them, and forced them to wilt under his pressure. Unlike Plant and Andrade, Morrell isn't impossible to hit. Kozak proved that by landing nearly 30% of his power punches. That's a concerning statistic when facing Benavidez, a fighter with one of the best connect percentages in boxing at 37.9%. Only Bam Rodriguez at 39.5% has a higher accuracy rate. That means Benavidez doesn't just throw a lot, he lands a lot. And when he lands, opponents feel every shot. Benov, as his strategy, is no secret. He applies suffocating pressure digs to the body and wears his opponents down. Against former WBC and lineal light heavyweight champion Alexander Gazik, he landed a ridiculous 46.7% of his power punches. That's an insane number at the highest level of boxing. If he can replicate that against Morrell, it won't be a long night. Morrell, however, has advantages of his own. He's younger, fresher, and has a foreign reach advantage. He's going to try to keep the fight at a distance, using his jab and movement to frustrate Benavidez. The question is, can he stay disciplined? Because at some point, Benavidez is going to force him into a firefight, and that's where things get dangerous.
A beating, man. To be honest with you, I think David, is going to stop him maybe like in the 9-10 round. Maybe if he would have just hold on a little bit more like about a year or two. He's a dangerous fighter, though. We're not underestimating him. David's training super hard. David right now is super motivated, mentally, physically.
The tension between these two is real. This isn't some manufactured rivalry for PPV sales. Benavidez has made it clear he wants to punish Morrell. He doesn't just want to win. He wants to send a message. He wants to show the world that he's one of the best, that he belongs at the top, and that nobody, not Canelo, not Bivol, not BBV, can avoid him anymore. But emotions can be a double-edged sword. Benavidez had the same level of hatred for Caleb Plant, and while he dominated, he made some tactical mistakes.
Has less muscle, he doesn't get tired. Shout out to his stamina. He has crazy stamina, but Morrell's about to knock the lights out, knock loose, and it's going to be a horrible loss for David Benavidez. He was projecting this for no reason.
He barely used his jab, landing only 30 jabs over 12 rounds. That can't happen against Morrell. If he just walks forward throwing power punches, he'll give Morrell openings. Kendrick used his jab well against Morrell, setting up his offense intelligently. Benavidez needs to do the same. Morrell for all his talent has never been in a fight like this. He's never been hit by someone like Benavidez. He's never had to survive against a relentless pressure fighter who doesn't fade. There's a massive difference between looking sharp against Kid and surviving a dogfight with Benavidez.
For this fight is that you're the one that's experienced. He has a deep amateur pedigree, but it's you who has the experience. Do you see that fight like this, or do you just see him just as another opponent?
I mean, I don't really see the amateur as any. I don't see that as, this is not an amateur fight. This is professional. This is a championship fight, 12 rounds. So, I mean, you might have.
Benavidez, on the other hand, has seen it all. He's fought world champions, undefeated contenders, and tricky technicians. He's been in deep waters and has always come out on top. He has more experience, more power, and more proven ability at the highest level if he can take Morrell's best shots and keep coming forward. It's hard to see Morrell surviving 12 rounds. But what if Morrell is special? What if he can withstand the pressure, stick to his game plan, and expose Benavidez his defensive flaws? What if he can use his footwork and reach to frustrate Benavidez, making him miss and countering him cleanly? If Morrell can do that, he's not just a prospect anymore. He's a legitimate threat to the division's top names.
I mean, it's only like 168, like every time everybody's running. I'm over 175, let me see 175.
Avid Morrell Jr. walked through the MGM Grand like a man with a mission. There was no over-the-top entourage, no unnecessary distractions, just him, a few trusted people, and his thoughts. But in his mind, everything was about to change. He was days away from the fight that could alter his entire career. On Saturday night, he would step into the ring against David Benavidez, a fighter most men feared, a fighter labeled the Mexican Monster. But Morrell didn't see a monster. He saw a music opportunity. This is my chance to show everyone who the real boogeyman is. Morrell said, his voice filled with conviction. He wasn't just saying it for effect. He meant it. The boxing world saw Benavidez as one of the most dangerous men in the sport, but Morrell had never backed down from a challenge at 27 years old. He knew a win over Benavidez would change everything. It would make him a household name. It would put him one step closer to becoming the undisputed light heavyweight champion. It would force the world to respect Cuban boxing at a whole new level. The stakes couldn't be higher. The winner of this fight was guaranteed a shot at whoever emerged victorious between RBBV and Dimitri Bivol. On February 22nd, that fight would crown the undisputed light heavyweight king. That was the dream, the goal, the reason both men had taken this fight. But for Morrell, it wasn't just about titles and legacy, it was about something bigger. He was doing this for Cuba. He was doing this for every Cuban fighter who never got the chance to prove themselves on the biggest stage. He was carrying the weight of his country on his shoulders. If I knock him out, it opens the door for the Cuban people, Morrell said. I feel great, my team, my coach, they believe in me. When they tell me, you got this, I know I got this. I feel grateful for this opportunity.
What would you think about a David Morrell Jr. versus David Benavidez fight?
Man, that'd be firecrackers, bro. The kid from the Olympics ain't no joke, though. Man, he's coming up fast and he's ready. A lot of energy that way. A heck of a fight. I mean, stop chasing Canelo, bro.
His promoter, Luis Dubas SR, wasn't holding anything back. He had watched Morrell train. He had seen him work. And he had no doubt in his mind about what was coming. We're ready to fight. We're going to knock this. And so, I'm telling you, Duba said. The confidence in his voice was undeniable. He had been waiting for this moment for years. There was a time when this fight seemed impossible. Nearly 5 years ago, Samson Lukowitz, Ben's promoter, had laughed off the idea. He had seen Morrell dominate Lennox Allen in just his third professional fight and made it clear Benavidez would never fight him. You're only going to see Benavidez in pictures, Lukowitz.
Styles, but in particular, he's faced guys like that. Demetrius Andrade and Caleb Plant. Those guys are wizards in the ring. They're very hard to figure out. Demetrius Andrade is very unorthodox. Kind of hard to figure out.
But things had changed. Both Morrell and Benavidez had been passed over by Canelo Alvarez at super middleweight. Both had been forced to move up to light heavyweight to chase greatness. And now there was nowhere left to run. The fight had to happen. Benavidez came in with an undefeated record, a reputation for relentless pressure, and a string of knockouts that made him one of the most feared men in the sport. His style was simple but devastating. He broke fighters down with constant aggression, never giving them a moment to breathe. His punches didn't stop coming, and by the time his opponents realized what was happening, it was too late. They had nothing left. But Morrell wasn't like the others. He wasn't just another fighter looking for a payday. He was a product of the legendary Cuban boxing school. He was slick, powerful, and dangerous in ways that Benavidez had never seen before. He could box, he could brawl, and he could hurt you in ways you didn't expect. Dubas had seen it firsthand. He's ready, he said. I was in camp with him. He's sparred with the best guys possible. He's ready to kick ass. This fight is very important for him. He is going to win. Ben's style was no secret. He was an aggressive volume puncher, a fighter who overwhelmed his opponents with sheer output. But Morrell's camp had prepared for that. They had brought in top sparring partners, tested his endurance, sharpened his defense. They knew exactly what they were up against. The Cubas had been around the best. He had seen champions rise and fall. He knew what separated the greats from the rest. Great sparring like Roberto Duran, Wilfredo Gomez, Joel Casimir always told me sparring and running, everything else is. And he believed Morrell had done everything right. I can't see Benavidez going the distance with him. If he does, he has a great chin, and I'll truly respect him. Morrell had heard all the opinions. He knew most people expected Benavidez to impose his will, to come forward and wear him down. He knew the talk. There's always going to be opinions from everybody, Morrell said. I have my opinion too. He wasn't interested in what the critics had to say. He wasn't interested in predictions or analysis. All that mattered was what happened on fight night. He had prepared for this moment. He had put in the work. Now it was just a matter of execution. As he made his way through the MGM Grand, he could already picture it. The lights, the crowd, the moment when he would finally step into the ring. He knew what was coming. He knew the challenge ahead. But he also knew something else. He was ready.
I think I want to fight the most dangerous fighters. I want to fight the best of the best, because at the end of the day, bro, I'm here. I'm not going to waste my time and not, get the...
However, David Benavidez walked into the media workout yesterday. And from the moment people saw him, there was a buzz in the air. But not the good kind. His face looked hollow. His arms looked thinner than usual. And his eyes had that sunken look fighters get when they've been pushing their bodies too far just to make weight. It was clear Benavidez was struggling. And the worst part, there were still 2 more days until weigh-in. If he looked this drained now, what would he look like on Saturday?
Live on pay-per-view from Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. I got it.
This is exactly what people feared for years. Benavidez had been able to bully smaller fighters at super middleweight, cutting an insane amount of weight, just to make sure he had a size advantage in the ring. But now things are different. He is fighting an old washed-up fighter, or someone who was naturally smaller. He was fighting David Morrell, a big, dangerous, undefeated Cuban who wasn't going to fold. Just because Benavidez threw a lot of punches, and Morrell, he looked fresh. He didn't look like a guy who had been starving himself to make weight. He looked strong, sharp, and dangerous. He looked like he was ready to step into the ring today. Ben's weight struggles have always been an issue. But now at 175 pounds, they're even worse. When he fought at 168, he could barely make weight. But at least he had a huge size advantage.
Thing he taught me, I'm definitely gonna use.
You know, Morrell keeps saying you're nervous, you're nervous. What do you say in response to that?
I don't care what David Morrell says. All the talk is done. Now it's time to fight this Saturday.
He's you know, lastly for me, man, he's good at getting, I guess, to the weak side angle like southpaws are. I know you can't share too much, but why would we be able to shut down anything he brings?
Because David Morrell feels strong against fighters who are bums. He's never been in a fighter of my type of caliber. He's never been with a fighter that attacks the body like I do. He's never been in there with a vicious fighter that throws punches and bunches like I do.
Now at light heavyweight, he's still killing himself to cut down, and the advantage he once had is fading away. The truth is Benavidez isn't a 168-pounder. He's not even a 175-pounder. He's a full-fledged cruiserweight who refuses to accept it, and that refusal is catching up to him fast. The first real sign that he was struggling at this weight came last year when he fought Alexander Usyk in his 175 pounds debut. He started strong, throwing punches like he always does, but by the 8th round his gas tank was empty. He wasn't the same relentless fighter. His shots lost their snap. His movement slowed, and his defense became non-existent. Usyk, a smart fighter, took advantage and picked him apart. Now, looking at Benavidez at this media workout, it's clear that nothing has changed. He still looks drained. He still looks like he's forcing his body to do something it doesn't want to do. "I'm going to shut this guy up," Benavidez said when asked about Morrell, trying to sound confident. Despite the obvious struggles he was dealing with, he was trying to hype up the fight, trying to make it seem like he was coming in strong, but his body was telling a different story. He had a tired look in eyes, like a man who knew the battle was bigger than he was letting on. Morrell, on the other hand, didn't seem fazed at all. He was smiling, moving well, and looking like a fighter who was exactly where he needed to be. There was no weight-drained look, no struggle to keep his energy up, just confidence, and that's a scary thing for Benavidez, because Morrell isn't just some random fighter. He's a Cuban boxing machine, technically sharp, defensively sound, and powerful enough to make a tired Benavidez pay dearly for every mistake he makes. For the first time in his career, Benavidez might not be able to just walk forward and break his opponent down. His usual strategy of overwhelming fighters with volume might not work if his body doesn't have the energy to keep up, and Morrell knows it.